Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the AMT and Amino co-hosted webinar. Our webinar today is on enterprise and signage, what's new. And specifically, this is referencing around the Amino product, the H200. Today, we've got Bill Hughes from Amino. He'll be presenting. We will have a Q&A session, so if there's any questions you have, please feel free to put those in the chat, and we'll be answering those at about the 45-minute mark. You will be muted throughout the presentation, and then there will be a recording made available a few days later. Additionally, we're going to be at InfoComm this summer. Amino and AMT will be at InfoComm. We'll have engineers and tech services people on staff and on hand to answer any questions you've got there. So without any further ado, let me hand this over to Bill Hughes. Bill?
All right, thanks, Tim. Yep. Wanted to give you guys sort of a overview here. We are, I think about a year ago, we introduced the H200. And at that time, it was we had a webinar, and it was really an announcement. Hey, the H200 is now available. Here are kind of the hardware specs for that, and here's the roadmap for the H200. And we thought, you know, a year has gone by. We've done so much on this platform. I mean, we've really come so far on it that we wanted to kind of give everyone an update of where we are, both on the hardware side, the software side, and everything that we've done around the product to just make it simpler and really a holistic product from the ground up, including everything from support down to the APIs that are supported in there. So we have a lot to cover, and let's dig in. So what I wanted to do first was, for those of you who may be new, or who may be looking from some of our older hardware, and maybe looking at, hey, what's new, what's coming up. Just wanted to kind of give you an overview of what is the H200, because everything we're going to talk about today really, as Tim said, revolves around the H200, and everything that we've developed is around the hardware. So quick overview of what is the H200. So the H200 is our next generation 4K media player. It is our enterprise and digital signage focused device. And what makes it enterprise and digital signage focused? Well, a lot of it is around the software that we've developed on top of it, but it's also the hardware. So it's built in a ruggedized, tamper-proof metal chassis. It's got power over Ethernet to make it really easy and simple to cable this device and power the device. So single cable provides power and also the network to it. It has VESA mounting options. So if you want to hide this device behind a TV set or mount it in a cabinet or something like that, it's all ready to go. You don't have to buy additional mounting hardware or use Velcro or something like that. So it's really designed specifically for this space. It is based on the AM Logic 905 X4 chipset. Really capable chipset, 21,000 DMIPS. And in the next slide, we're going to do a comparison between this and our previous generation. You'll see it's not just an iteration of new hardware. It's leaps and bounds beyond where we were before this. And I won't go through all the specs in here. We'll make these available to anybody who's interested in the webinar. Will be available offline as well. But just some of the key things are that it does have 2 gigs of RAM. It has 8 gig of flash by default, but it does have an option to be ordered with 32 gig. And our friends over at AMT are definitely willing to install additional storage into the internal SD card slot. So there is an internal expansion slot in the H200, and they're more than willing to help us expand the storage there as well, if that's something that you require. And then it does have a gig port. It has 2 USB ports. It also has IR receiver and IR extender port, again, going for that being able to hide the device and still being able to control it. So the IR extender is very important in that. For those of you who may be on a previous version of our hardware, we'll do a quick comparison between the H150, which was our previous generation, and now you can see where we've gone to with the H200. I mean, as I was saying, it's not just one iteration. It's a huge step forward from where we were with the H150. We're talking about a 970% increase in the processing power here. So it's just a massive increase there. We'll be able to handle certainly any of the applications that you've developed for the H150 and then some for sure. And some of the key points and differences there is that it does now support 4K video and 4K graphics. It does now have, in addition to H.264 and MPEG-2 support, it also incorporates HEVC and AV1. So if you have a requirement to get higher compression, we can also support that as well. And in the previous webinar, we were talking about, things that were on the roadmap and transitioning from the H150 to the H200. And at that time, we were just about to finish up some of the work on the channel zapper. We can now definitely confirm that that is there today. So any of you that are using this as a simple video turnaround device, or we have a lot of customers that are using it as a simple channel changing device, that is there today, fully supported as it was on the H150. And in some later slides, we'll talk about how we've made it much simpler to actually deploy and manage channel lineups and everything else around deploying the box. We have one more slide on the hardware, and this is a very recent thing that we've done just at the end of last year. We had a lot of feedback that, hey, power over Ethernet, and Ethernet obviously very important, but we had a lot of feedback that Wi-Fi option was desired. So we went out to the market, and we did a lot of testing with different adapters for the H200. We have certified an adapter now. It is a dual band 802.11 AC. Wi-Fi adapter. It's plug and play, so you plug it into the back of the H200, you reboot the box, and it'll come up and ask you to enter your SSID and password. And it also, again, going with that theme of being able to position the device wherever you need it, it comes with a nice extension cable that will allow you to put that Wi-Fi in a different spot to get the best reception there as well. So it doesn't have to be co-located with the box. We've tested it for all ABR streaming applications, definitely can support anything that you need to do there. And if you're interested, you can get in touch with Tim and his team over at AMT for purchasing options. So that is now fully supported. Okay. We'll move quickly into software and setup advancements. And honestly, this is where we've made the most advancements. We took a lot of customer feedback. We now have a lot of successful deployments with the H200, and we got a lot of extremely valuable feedback from those initial deployments. What went right? What went wrong? We've taken that back, and I think the team has done a great job of managing the roadmap and the advancements and making sure that we listen to our customers and we get things fixed where we can and get improvements where we need to. So some of the key things that excited to tell you guys about is, first of all, the out-of-box experience. We want to, in everything that you're going to see here that we're talking about in these improvements, you'll see a theme about just improving the software and the support so that we can get customers to self-service. So they don't need to always be picking up the phone, and that's a win-win, right? It's a win-win for our customers. It's also a win-win for AMT and us on handling support requests. We can focus more time on making sure that we're developing interesting features instead of answering support calls. So that we knew it was important to spend our time here. Anyway, On the out-of-box experience, I think we've done a great job here in developing a welcome screen. And the welcome screen, when you first boot up the device and power it on, it will present you with a welcome screen that has two main objectives. One, it shows you how to access the settings pages that we've developed. And we have a whole setup wizard that we developed with the H200. So you can access that settings menu directly from here, and you can configure everything from the network settings to NTP settings and CEC settings and so on and so forth. Or you can also scan the QR code, and the QR code was our way of, if someone just gets the H200 and they don't know what to do with it, how do we give them access to where do I get help, where do I get information, and how do I get started? So if you scan the QR code with your mobile device, it will open a mobile-friendly web page that takes you through the main use cases of, you know, what you might be interested in doing with the H200. So maybe you want to use it with a content management system to display a food menu, for example, or any type of CMS application that you want to do, or maybe you want to use it as a channel zapper, or maybe you want to use develop a web application on top of the H200. All of those links are available. So you click on one of those links, it then takes you into our huge repository. Now I can use the word huge there. We've spent a lot of time developing articles and help and knowledge base for the H200. And we'll talk about that in a later slide as well. So that's the out-of-box experience. The other thing that we've done is we have a lot of customers that use the H200 in private networks and just as a standalone offline device. So it may not have a network connectivity, and it doesn't need to have network connectivity. But if you lose that network connectivity, you still need a way to update the firmware. You need a way to apply the configurations to the device. And we had feedback from customers that were deploying it in private networks that they were getting a little frustrated with being able to, author the configuration files, mess around with JSON files, and make sure your syntax was correct. And it just became a bit of a point of frustration. So we thought, why don't we just make this super simple for all of our customers to configure and deploy the H200 in a offline or private network. And so we developed a web app. It's available to anyone who uses the H200. And in fact, that previous page that we showed you will actually link you to the web application. So it's right on the out-of-box page will link you to this. And the use cases that we support here is, let's say you want to create a channel lineup, or you want to change the channel lineup on a box that's in a private network. You can just click through. There's a button that says, I want to create a channel lineup. And you click on that. It will guide you through entering the channel number that's going to show up on the screen, enter the URL, and enter the stream type. Or if you want to create the boot parameters, so controlling how the device is configured once it's deployed, it walks you through all the parameters that are available. There's help files in there, all the resources to get you up and going with doing your configuration files, or downloading and upgrading the H200 to the latest firmware release. That is also there. You go through the wizard. At the end of the wizard, it's going to show you a loading page. It's loading and it's creating your files. At the end of it, it's going to give you instructions to basically copy that file over to a USB stick, plug the USB stick into the H200, and reboot it. And there's nothing else you need to do. The H200 will take those updates, and you're off and running. So we really spent a lot of time on making sure that this was as simple as it possibly can get. And I think if you've ever had to work with some of the configuration files and developing those, you'll find that this is just a fantastic tool for simplifying that whole workload there. Okay. Now we're diving into a little bit about the software features and enhancements specific to the client software and the firmware that runs on the H200. And there's way too much to go into here in just a simple webinar, but we wanted to kind of call out the key features that we've added. So since last year, we've added a number of different support for different stream types. So low latency dash and HLS. One of our key first customers is one of the largest providers of video services to betting shops, sports betting shops. And obviously there's a real strong requirement for low latency video, and it has to be extremely reliable. So we now have a very successful deployment with them, and we're now seeing a lot of customers requesting the same. They need a very low latency video there, and no delay between the live stream and what you're seeing on the TV. We've got support for secure, reliable transport. That came from customer requests as well. Multi-program transport streams and even UDP multicast support has all been added since last year. Another thing that we've implemented is support for system level portrait mode. And what this means is that if you're using, for example, a CMS app and you want to show live video stream, but you need to show it in a portrait mode, but maybe your CMS app doesn't support portrait mode yet, it doesn't matter. We can do that at a system level. We can change the rotation of the video without having to worry about what the application specifically supports there. So we can do that at the system level. We've added support for multi-decode, so we can support up to 4 simultaneous HD streams now out of the H200. Video wall support we've added as well. And we have support for USB provisioning and installation of applications. So very similar to the web app that we talked about and how that makes configuring channel lineups and configuration files. If you have a specific application, CMS application, and you need to use the H200 offline, you can put that application on a USB stick and upgrade and apply that APK to the H200 as well. So a lot there, again, a lot. We have all of our release notes available online. So if you're interested in everything that's been implemented since last year, you can definitely dig in a little bit more into the release notes. We've also spent a lot of time developing what we call our EELM API set. And this is really a set of APIs that are available to anyone who has the H200 to control the H200 with your own system. So let's say you had a business management tool that you wanted to automate some of the tasks on the H200. So you can now access those APIs directly on the H200 and control things like changing channel on the channel zapper, or making changes to the channel lineup. Maybe you want to send the browser to a web page URL, or send the zapper to a video URL, for example. We can start and stop and toggle application focus. So we do have some customers that are, for example, in a maybe it's in a bar, for example, or something like that, and they want to show the game, but after the game is over, they want to go back to their content management and show some adverts, some local adverts and stuff like that. You can now automate all of that through the EELM APIs, and so on and so forth. Even change, any remote control key you can send directly to the H200. You can reboot, you can change volume, power, and there's a lot more that we won't get into in here. And then if that wasn't enough, we added what's called a scheduler on top of it. So any one of these APIs that we have available through EELM, you can schedule. And you can use our schedule API to say at a certain date and time you want to schedule that API to be called. And you can call a string of APIs at a specific date and time. So it just adds another level of flexibility and opens up a whole slew of new use cases that you can achieve with the H200. And then that's the main topics that we want to cover on the kind of software side of things. We wanted to also introduce you guys to what we call Orchestrate. Orchestrate is a software. It's a software as a service tool to manage your deployment of H200s. It's optional. And it requires an internet connection. So if you have a private network, this probably isn't a play for you. But if you are deploying the H200s on the public domain, Orchestrate is definitely something you would want to take a look at. Orchestrate is our device and deployment management tool. As I said, it's cloud-based. There's absolutely nothing that you need on site to get up and going with this tool. We can have an account turned up for you literally in minutes, and you can see the power of this tool firsthand. You can do things like upgrading the firmware and the configuration and even your application. So we talked about, using a USB stick to upgrade the firmware for offline deployments or private networks. All of that, and even the APK management or application management, can all be controlled through Orchestrate without having to use the USB stick. So all of that can be done over the internet now. We also have a really powerful tool, which is our remote support, what we call see what the user sees type experience. So if you have someone that has deployed the H200, or let's say you've deployed the H200 and it's in a totally different location, and you want to verify what's on the screen at any point in time, or you need to actually have remote control access to it, so actually changing something with the remote control on the device, you can do that through Orchestrate, and you see in real time what's on the actual screen. And then we also present you with all of the device diagnostics. So everything from what is the firmware that's running on the device, what is the signal quality level, what is the CPU temperature, the memory consumption. And there's a lot of tools on top of that, like getting access to the actual terminal console for the device. You can do that from here. You can get debug logs. You can restart the device, reset the device, everything that you can do via the EELM APIs, and a lot more through Orchestrate. And it's all point and click. So this has been a tool that's has been really popular with those customers that are deploying the H200 on the public internet. And so just some of the key points that we'd like to drive home is that, you're in control of the firmware updates, and you can maintain the security patches. Now, we've had some feedback from some of the content management partners that we have that they like, and their customers like having a tool like this, because they've had experience with other devices, maybe, retail Android devices, for example, or Fire Sticks, where they never know when there's going to be a security patch, or they never know when there's going to be a new firmware update that's just randomly pushed to the device and could potentially break what's being shown on the screen. And if you're in a retail critical, or a stadium or something like that in the middle of the game, and your device goes for a firmware update, that would be a disaster. Zero touch provisioning, so there's nothing that you need to do when you actually plug in the device at the end location. If you want to send H200s out to many different locations, you can do all the provisioning from Orchestrate. You don't need to do it on site at all. Update your applications as well on your schedule. So similar to updating the firmware, you can also update the applications on whatever schedule that you have. And you can always ensure that your devices have the latest applications. We give you very graphical metrics to show you which devices have the latest firmware, which ones maybe haven't updated yet, and you can target those for forcing an update, for example, on a schedule. You can schedule the update of those as well. And you can reduce the maintenance and support costs through remote support. We've had a lot of feedback that, rolling a truck to go fix something in a specific location is a big cost adder to the OpEx line. So, being able to fix those configuration related issues remotely is a very powerful tool. And just making sure you always have the latest security patches, and that you're reducing the risk for any sort of intrusion or security issue is always a very important thing to those who are putting their brand forward. We also provide things like speed tests in there. So if you want to verify that the network quality is there, it's very hard to do if you don't have, an on-device speed test. You can do all of that directly through Orchestrate, and you can run it at any specific time. We have other network diagnostic tools in there to, do ping tests and that sort of thing, all directly available through Orchestrate. And then, so if this is something that sounds interesting to you, we have trials available. We can provide you with a trial. You can kick the tires on it, see if it's for you, and get in touch with Tim and his team over there at AMT again, and we will definitely get you up and going with a trial of that. Okay, and then the last thing that we wanted to kind of talk about is all the stuff that we've done around support and services. So again, we took a real holistic view of this and wanted to make sure that we were really addressing all of the different aspects of this as part of our roadmap, and support and services were a very key part of those updates. So just a little headlines on support. The improvements that we focused on enhancing and simplifying access to our support and to the support materials. So the first line of support comes through AMT, so they can, for example, they can help you pre-configure devices. If you need a specific application on the devices, they can do that for you. If you need someone to set up an Orchestrate account for you, AMT is definitely capable of doing that. If you have any Orchestrate specific or device configuration support questions, they can definitely help you with those types of questions as well. One of the other key things that we've done is we've moved previously support to Amino. If you wanted to get access to all the support materials was behind a paywall. We've taken that all out from behind the paywall. So now everyone has access to all of our support materials for the enterprise market and for digital signage for the H200. So we've just made it a lot easier for everyone to get access to that. And if it does come to the point where you do need support, you need that extra handholding, you have a very complex deployment, and you need Amino to work with you, we do have flexible support levels there. So previously we had one main support level. Now we have many different support levels there, so we can get you up and going and make sure that the support that you need fits your actual needs there. So a lot of changes on there. If you've been dealing with Amino in the past, I think everyone would say there are improvements. And then another key focus here has been around our web resources. We've actually developed a full microsite just specific to the signage and enterprise market. All of our signage and enterprise help documents are, as I said, they're now freely available on this microsite. We have probably close to, if not exceeding, 100 different articles that are on there now. There's just a huge value of information, volume of information, and wealth of information on there. The help notes are there, the release notes are there, even the firmware is available through there. We have our one of the things that we will be putting very soon is giving access publicly to all of the APIs. So we talked about the APIs before. We will also be making those available to our customers. And all of this is available at amino.tv/support. So if you go there and you follow the links to the digital signage enterprise microsite, you'll be able to take a look at everything that we have available there. And then kind of lastly, we wanted to tell you about all the partnership advances that we've had in the last couple months. We had a lot of customers ask for Crestron support. I can now successfully say, or confidently say, that we have successfully added support for Crestron. So anyone who is in need of that, you can get in touch with us in AMT, and we can get you access to the resources to implement Crestron applications into or use cases into your applications. We've partnered with Matrox for being able to support multi different screens out of an H200, so that multi-decode is made possible in our partnership with Matrox. Very good partner of ours. And then we've spent a lot of time working with different CMS vendors, content management for the digital signage space, but we have a number of them that we've tested, and we've got ongoing partnerships with now in some deployments with some of these guys. So Zogo, Spectrio, OptiSigns, now Signage, all of those. If you're looking for to use the H200 in digital signage space and need to present your content in a very easy manner, any one of these guys is a great one to go to, and we can get you up and set up with those guys and make introductions if you don't already know them. And we have a real, actually quite a sizable growing number of customer-specific applications. So our customers developing applications running on top of the H200 that are now in production environments, and we've seen a real good uptick of the H200 deployments in the last few months. So just in summary, this is my last slide here. We just wanted to say that we've listened to our customers, we've listened to you, we've simplified the out-of-box experience. We've provided a simple tool for anyone to use to configure the H200 if you're using it in a private network, or if you're using it in a public network. We now have Orchestrate there to manage your deployment, and I think you'll find that's an extremely powerful tool. So I say, there's no risk to trying it out. If you haven't tried it out, just let us know, and we're definitely willing to give you a trial there. And we've made it easier to get access to the support, as we've talked about, and we've made it simple to migrate from our older versions of hardware like the H150. We've really spent a lot of time on making sure we make those transitions as seamless and as easy as possible for our customers, and making sure that all those features are there that were on the H150. And yeah, so I think we've come a long way in the last year, and looking forward to continuing on the roadmap, and we will definitely have some more updates for you. And as Tim mentioned, we will be at InfoComm. I think that's the next next major show that we're doing. We were at ISC a few months ago over with our European partners. InfoComm will be a big show for us here in Orlando, in my hometown here. So definitely looking forward to seeing everybody out there. So that's it, Tim. I wanted to hand it back over to you.
Thanks, Bill. I want to just say something about the partnership between Amino and AMT. It really is a partnership. As you can see, we've got the first line of support is through AMT, and then we're constantly working and exhibiting and discussing opportunities with Amino. So if you were at InfoComm last year, Amino was in the booth with us. If you were at DSE, I was in the booth with Bill back in November, and then we'll be in the booth again at InfoComm in Orlando in June. So come out and see us and talk to us, and we'll have the people there to support you. We've got the Q&A session here, and we do have several questions submitted. So, Bill, if you're up for it, I'll throw these at you here.
Yeah.
First one we've got here is this a solution for small opportunities?
Yes, I think previously, and you can see that a lot of the improvements that we've made were actually focused on addressing that market, because I think previously we kind of were addressing it in the way that, hey, we want to make sure that we're addressing the largest volume customers, right, and making sure that we give them the most attention, which from a vendor standpoint makes a lot of sense. But we've realized, especially with us, working with CMS partners, content management, and really addressing more of the digital signage space, that we need to make it available to those smaller opportunities. So, one or two devices, we are definitely willing to take on that business, and we are making all of the improvements that you've seen we made are really all towards addressing that market. So yes, we definitely think it's a good solution for that, and we are working and continuing to work towards getting towards complete self-serve, where anybody could take this out of the box. They have the simple setup wizard, and you should be able to get anything that you need working on the H200 without ever having to pick up the phone. That's our goal. But when you do need to pick up the phone, we want to make sure that you do have the options to get in touch with somebody as well, and not make it complicated for people to get there. So definitely, yeah, open to that.
Great. Thanks, Bill. So the next question we have here is the H200 plug?
Is it plug and play? Oh, you went on mute there, Tim, I think.
I apologize. Yeah, so the question was, is the H200 plug and play?
Well, I would say yes, we've made it as plug and play as we can for now. We're always looking at feedback on how we can improve that. But yeah, I think the whole setup screen that we have and the access to the resources that we mentioned in some of the earlier screens there, and just the ability to really make it as easy as possible. I would say we have one of the easiest platforms to get started with in the digital signage space. I mean, obviously, we've tested out some of the other devices that are out there specifically for the digital signage space, and just getting your application on those devices can be complicated, and
Yes.
You need to either previously install or use some ADB command line tools, or if it's Linux, you need to have some installer packages and that kind of stuff. And none of that has to be done. You can always, with Orchestrate and with our web app that we have, and the ability to just copy applications to USB sticks, we've really done, I think, come a long way to making it towards plug and play. So I would say, yes, it is plug and play.
Yeah, I can kind of back that up as well, Bill. With some of the developments that have been done with the CMS vendors, so the integration there and utilizing Orchestrate, AMT's been able to do the fulfillment. So we'll have a box, we'll send it through the lab, have it pre-configured for your CMS vendor, and then ship it to the customer. So there's definitely some significant improvement there that we've seen, and I think customers enjoy that level of feeling good about getting something and it working right away.
Yeah.
So we've got another question here. What is the lead time if I place an order today? Actually, that might be for me. Yeah, so we do have product in stock. AMT's done a significant investment in advanced planning to have product available. We all know the shortages and issues that we saw during COVID. So we've planned ahead, and we do have product available for probably any size deployment. And we're going to continue to have product coming in and on hand. So we can definitely take care of you there. Got another question here. Update apps and firmware. So I guess the question there is, how maybe easy is it to update apps and firmware, or is it all just left from the support site?
Yeah, I guess maybe this probably comes from someone that was challenged in the past about updating the applications and firmware. But I think we've covered that quite a bit in the webinar. But yeah, now there's two mechanisms. You either do it via Orchestrate. Actually, there's probably three mechanisms. You do it via Orchestrate. We can support you via DHCP VCI, or you can do it via USB stick. So I would say two of those really simple ways to do it.
Great. And then we've got another question. It looks like, can my app always be launched by default? So like if a box reboots, for example.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, and it's a carryover from what we do in the pay TV space, which is when someone reboots a device, They don't want it to just go to the the standard page and then have to go and search and find an application. So we've taken that capability over to the signage space as well.
Okay.
And yes, we can support that. So we just need through Orchestrate or through the configuration web app, you can set a boot parameter that basically identifies the main app, the main content app. So if you're using a CMS app, you just need the app ID, and you tell Orchestrate or the web app that that's going to be your main app, and that you want it to boot up every time into that app, and it will take care of that for you. So yeah, every time you reboot, it comes directly to that app, which is very, it's something that's critical, absolutely critical, even more so in the signage space than it is in the pay TV space. So yes.
Great. Okay, I do not see any other questions. So we'll give just a minute here to see if there's any last minute questions. If you do have any follow-up questions, feel free to either contact myself, T. Sullivan at amt.com, or through our website, www.amt.com. We've got the H200 product up there, and then we've got units if you need to do evaluations or do further calls. We can bring Bill or one of the other Amino engineers online and have those kinds of conversations about the deployments and opportunities. And I do not see any other questions. So I do want to thank everybody for their time. Bill, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in June.
Yeah, we'll see each other before then.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks everybody.